most of us just kind of think of recorders as that plastic little thing that you play when you're in school, and it makes like fleeping noises, and it's really annoying. There's a lot more to them. A lot more. Recorders are really ancient instruments that were used as serious instruments for almost 1,000 years. Really incredible things. So, we're going to start out with something that looks pretty familiar. So, this is a soprano recorder. It's in the key of C, which means the lowest note that it plays, all the holes covered, is a C. And then it just goes up, note by note, and we can go quite a ways up. This is quite a lot fancier than the plastic one that you may have played when you were in elementary school. But it's basically the same thing. It plays with the same finger patterns. It sounds similar. Hopefully it sounds quite a bit better. But we can go a little bit higher than that too. A lot of times people don't really explore the high end of the instrument. And it actually goes a little bit higher than that, but to play it in tune, you actually have to close the end with your leg. And since I'm standing, that's a little awkward, so we'll skip those. But this is a soprano recorder, pitched in the key of C. This one is even tinier. This is a sopranino recorder. Sopranino, just smaller soprano. This is in the key of F, which means all the holes covered, lowest note is F. So instead of playing an F scale, instead of playing a C scale, it plays an F scale. And this gets insanely high. And it actually gets a little higher than there, but again, I have to cover the end with my leg, which is a little awkward right now. There is an even smaller recorder. It's actually an octave above this one, so it's only about this long compared to the sopranino. It's only about that long. That's called garkline, and those are very, very high, and unless you have really tiny fingers, because they're so close together, they're very difficult to play. And you don't hear them too much just because they're so incredibly high and squeaky. So, moving on, we have an alto recorder. This is the one that I play the most. Alto recorders are also an F recorder, which means, just like the sopranino, all the holes closed, lowest note is F. And it has just a really nice sweet tone. That sounds really nice. All of the recorders that I've shown so far are what we call Baroque recorders. So this is the style of recorder that would have been made anywhere from, 1600s, 1700s. They have really nice turnings, generally speaking, all these like fancy lines. And if you look at the end, they're very small on the end. So even though we have this nice flare, only a little tiny hole for where the air actually comes out. If we take it apart, you can see it starts out quite much larger, and it tapers down to something that's really quite small. This one is also an alto recorder, but this is a Renaissance recorder. So this is based on an instrument from about the 1500s. Looks a lot simpler. Obviously it's a different kind of a wood, but that doesn't make it Renaissance or Baroque. That doesn't really affect that. But if you look at the end, it's a lot bigger. So we're still tapering down a bit, but it's much more open on the end, and that really changes the sound. So this one's a lot what we call breathier. So basically more wind noise, I guess. It also makes it a lot harder to play high. It doesn't always come out nicely, but the pieces of music that you play on something like this are a lot less technically demanding, so it makes it a lot easier. So if I play something on this, I mean, I can still play fast, but I'm not doing quite so much really high notes. I'm not doing things that involve flats and sharps, because I just have single holes here. If you look on a good quality Baroque recorder, they'll have double holes. And that means that I can very precisely only cover one of those. So for example, if I went to play I can do a half step like that. If I try and do that with an open hole, I can do that, but it's not nearly as precise. So being able to have those double holes makes it a lot easier. One of the main inventions that we've had over the 150 years between this one and this one. Technology. So the type of music that I play on this is really quite probably not what you would be playing in elementary school. So for example, we've got some Telemann's Fifth Canonic Sonata. This is the scherzando. And that's just a little piece of it. But I'm playing quite a lot higher, and I'm still doing a lot of really fast things, but instead of just going up and down the scale, I'm bouncing around a lot more with different jumps and skips. I can do slow stuff with all sorts of other notes added. The tone of this is a lot more focused, so I can play really fast, I can play really loud, and it works better with like an orchestra. In the Baroque period, we actually have orchestras. In the Renaissance, I would be still playing in groups, but it would probably be a smaller group, like a consort of recorders. Consort just meaning a group of instruments all the same, different sizes. So I'd like have a soprano recorder, alto recorder, tenor, bass, for example. If you're interested in learning how to play a recorder, have a hole on the back for your thumb, and that's generally closed. If we're playing low notes, it's closed. Left hand goes on top, and then right hand on the bottom. You can usually adjust that lower joint so that way you can close it comfortably with your pinky. So if you're playing an alto, starts with F, goes up the scale, F, G, A. If you're playing on a soprano, starts with C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There's tons of really good fingering charts and information online. If you're ever interested in picking one of these up, like the plastic ones, are super cheap. Some of them sound decent, and they're a lot of fun.